I'm Callie from CRK Training, and we just finished up 2 days of an event here at the farm. So I'm here with Sarah and Kathleen, and they're both from Natural Lifemanship, which is an equine assisted psychotherapy model, and that's what the training was about here. And the reason that we have the trainings is I find that, I mean, not only do I love to spread what you're teaching, but I also find that I benefit so much just from my own work with my horses. And that's why I wanted to interview you two and just share some of what we've been talking about this weekend with those that watch the videos, which are usually people that are just starting out riding or working with horses, or you know, have their own horses. So maybe if you could just start by talking a little bit, what is equine assisted psychotherapy?
Would you like to answer that one, Kathleen?
Sure.
Okay.
Sure. So equine-assisted psychotherapy is essentially an experiential therapy where we partner with horses to help people. Really, we work with a lot of people who have experienced trauma, but it could be any issue that people deal with: anxiety, depression, eating disorders, addiction, because horses are prey animals. They have a very well-developed brainstem and not as many connections to their neocortex, and people with a lot of trauma also spend a lot of time in the lower regions of their brain. And so we partner horses with clients and help them build healthy relationships through certain principles about partnership and mutual cooperation and regulation. And we find that there are really powerful things that happen in that relationship that they then can take back with them into their real lives.
What is, like, thinking about the natural lifemanship principles and, you know, your own work with different types of clients, what is like one thing that you would love for everyone that works with a horse to know?
Wow.
Do you want to think about it?
I do.
I think I already know.
You do? Okay.
Yeah, for me it's really the idea that a horse can learn to think and be in control of themselves. That I think even in natural horsemanship there's still, it's a benevolent dictatorship. It looks kinder and the language is kinder, but I think there is still this emphasis on being your horse's leader. And I think the idea that your horse could be your partner, that there could be this mutual cooperation rather than that you're still responsible for your horse's safety or your horse's behavior, that is such a powerful shift, such a powerful paradigm shift, that I could literally trust my horse to be in control of himself, offer him choices and trust that he can appropriately make the right choice. It changes the whole relationship because now I'm in control of myself, my horse can be in control of him or herself, and we can genuinely have this connection, this partnership, this equality in our relationship that changes the whole, I think, dynamic of the connection that you have.
I second that. That's a really good answer. You know, just thinking of all the different things to share, I think that's the piece that leads to the rest. That's the first place to go. And I think, yes, if I were to let people know, this is the one thing I'd like you to know, is that. Yeah. And I find that influence, you know, we want to influence, and we can influence through dictation and leadership and management, or we can influence through connection. And wow, life feels a lot better when I come from that place. And so I would inspire people to be curious and investigate from that place.
It feels better to ask than to tell. If I've asked and I've received a yes or a cooperation, it just always feels so much better than I've told you and now you have to do it. I was just talking with a friend who bought a horse, and she said, "Oh, I made him trot." And I said, "How would that feel to you if you rephrase that as I've asked him to trot?" And she just loved the way it changed her energy and changed kind of her dynamic with her horse. That making and letting is different than asking. So I think even the language we use is really powerful when we talk about our relationship with our horses.
Agreed.
Yeah, and I love that example because I think sometimes I'd like to give people a bit of a practical view of like what could this look like. So maybe what's another example of working with a horse where you could be directing something or just telling them to do something versus providing more choice in that situation?
So I will talk about that. So today in the training, we were giving a demonstration of haltering a horse that was in a pasture, fairly large pasture. He was out there with a couple of herd mates, and I was doing the demonstration to go out and catch and halter, so to speak, right? And I have to be careful with that language because catch carries a very predatory vibe to it. So my goal was to go out and start a relationship with Colin. And using the principles of natural lifemanship, I made a request for connection. And that's where we started, because I'm not going to make the request for a halter until I know that he and I are connected. And so that's where we started. And I sensed that Colin wasn't necessarily open to that request right away because he shot across the pasture. And I don't know how much time I spent with him. It was maybe 40 minutes.
Oh, it was an hour, wasn't it?
Oh, it was an hour? Yeah. So I was out there for an hour with him, and remembering that my goal was to go in there and to start a relationship, and I'd like to get to haltering if I can. And I will only get to haltering if we've done that through connection. And so we spent, I would say, 45 minutes, well, no, an hour, because we never actually got to haltering. An hour of me calmly making the request for connection and continuing to let him respond in whatever way he felt necessary. And I felt okay about making that request for connection because I know that it's a fair and reasonable request. I know that connection's going to benefit me. I know that connection's going to benefit him. And I know that I can't evaluate what's going on if he's got something going on that's making this hard for him unless we're connected. So that's where we start, right? We start at that place. And so it was an hour, and he did a lot of running around the pasture. And what started to happen was he started to get closer. The running wasn't so far. By the time we were done, he was making small circles around me, and he did connect. He did respond and make the choice to connect. And at that point, I made the decision that haltering was way outside of our window of tolerance. And it wasn't necessary for what we needed to do today. And it certainly wouldn't have been the next best step for our relationship, because connection was really hard for him. And someone actually asked me how it was that I didn't get frustrated during that experience, because it was hot and I was tired and it was an hour and it was a lot of running. And I think that the piece that helped me remain calm and in control of myself was remembering how hard this was for him, and also being really committed to connection, knowing that that would make a difference. And that's what allowed me to stay out there for an hour and also to not feel bad or frustrated with what was going on.
So what is it about, I guess, first relationship that you have both found to be so successful in, like with therapeutic clients?
I think it's about empowering individuals to be able to take care of themselves in relationship. Being able to find safety and security from within so they can create safety and security on the outside too.
I think the wonderful thing about horses is that they're so genuine, they don't know how to pretend. And so they show up in the round pen as themselves. They're not self-conscious. And there's something about that brings the truth to the surface really quickly. There's clients that I feel like in the first 15 minutes of a session, they have some kind of experience or make a connection that would have taken me several months in office to find. That there's something about horses that kind of strip away all of your pretenses and all of the facades that you hide behind, because in order to genuinely connect with a horse, you have to show up authentically as well. They don't understand incongruence, they don't understand pretending. So I find that most of us are moved in pretty profound ways, even just being around a horse, even before we've maybe initiated an interaction, because of the presence and the acceptance, and there's a lack of judgment in the presence of a horse that can be very safe, and it's kind of disarming. I feel like it just takes all of your defenses down. So
now, do you feel that there's something about the horse that is even unique from other animals. You know, for example, working, you know, there's other therapies
Sure.
that just involve being in the presence of a dog or a cat or other farm animals. Is there something special about the horse?
That's a common question, actually. I hear that a lot.
Yeah. Yeah, horses are prey animals, which I know there are other animals that are prey animals, but there's something about the way that their brains are wired. They're still such social creatures, but they have, unless they have had a chance to make choices and do some of this work, they have few connections to their neocortex. So there's a little bit more of that sort of raw reaction to abandonment or rejection that we get from the horse that maybe we've been socially conditioned to override as people. I think their size is powerful. I think there are clients who experience a range of emotions that they might not in the presence of a smaller animal. There's also the inability to physically move the horse that is really powerful, because you have to figure out a way to make requests that you can maybe pick up a dog or a cat or a chicken, but you know, you really aren't going to be able to pick up the horse if he's not where you want him to be. And there's something about that that forces you to learn how to communicate in a way that you can't use power and control and domination or manipulation, even if you do it kindly, the way you can with a smaller animal. I find that their size has a lot to do with the reaction that they evoke in a person.
Yeah. How do you define connection?
That's a great question.
It is a great
We
question.
get asked that a lot. And connection is really that kind of energy, that that internalized sense of relationship with another being, with a horse, with a person, with a dog. It's that sense that I am attuned to you and your presence. I could sit in an airport lounge with strangers and not really notice when they come and go, or my seatmates change if I'm on my phone or listening to music. But if I am traveling with my husband or a friend, I'm very aware of them, even if we are on our phones or not talking in that moment. I'm aware of when they shift, when they get up and leave, when they come back. There's this energy between us. There's this attunement. There's this relationship that we've internalized. And even if that person leaves and comes back, when they're gone, I can still pull up the sense of that relationship. I know what they look like, what it feels like to be with them, how they make me feel. There's an emotional component. So connection is very much about this sort of energetic linkage between people that involves the limbic system, and that also involves a feeling in your body that you get about being in relationship with that person.
Awesome.
I think connection feels safe. To me, it feels like safety.
Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, all of those things and safety. It feels safe to me.
Yeah.
A sense of safety.
Well, thank you very much for answering my questions, sharing your knowledge and experience with the group, and it was a great training. It was a great 2 days.
Thank you for hosting, Callie.
Oh,
This
yeah.
is a beautiful facility. Your horses were wonderful. They
Thank
were so
you.
present and gave everyone a different
Oh, they
experience.
did. It was a privilege to be here.
It really
Thank
was.
you.
Thank you.
Beautiful group of people.
You're a wonderful hostess, too. You took such good care of us. So
Yeah.
We'd
Thank
love
you.
to come back.
Yes.
Well, I look forward to having you back, and maybe you can join us the next time as well.
Yeah. Thank you, Callie.
Thank
Yeah.
you.